Good morning. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. We made it over the hump. We made it to Thursday. We made it past the moon, all up on that triggering the Mercury retrograde and Aquarius stuff. And now we're at this new moon, which I want to talk about today. Let's talk about the astrology of the new moon. I've done a tarot reading for it I actually watched it last night, the video of the new moon tarot reading that I did. Because when I'm doing the reading, I can't really kind of process it in a personal context. So I had to go back and rewatch the reading. And yeah, that one hit different, man. I really had to process some things, and it's been very, very relevant in readings with my clients. So I don't know if you didn't see the new moon tarot reading. It's on my YouTube channel. You should watch it. Even if you did see it, you should watch it again. Maybe you'll get something different. But today I want to talk about the new moon in Pisces, and I just had this inception kind of moment where I'm in the car talking to myself, except for I'm not talking to myself, I'm talking to you. Anyways, I want to talk about the astrology of the new moon, and there are a few different points I kind of want to hit as important. I really want to kind of dig a little bit into Pisces. I want to dig a little bit into I want to dig into Saturn, and kind of speak a little bit more about that. What does that square to Saturn mean? The new moon is square Saturn. I also want to talk about the new moon being kind of exactly square the eclipse degree. There was an eclipse January 5th of 2019 at 21 degrees Sagittarius. A couple weeks later, Saturn crossed over that point of 21 degrees Sagittarius. And now we have a new moon at 21 degrees Pisces, which is square that point. And Saturn is still late in Sagittarius. So after this new moon, the moon will perfect its square to Saturn, and the sun will perfect its square to Saturn next week. Next week is a lot of astrology. This week was really kind of a holding pattern, setting everything up, but next week it gets lit again. Yeah, so anyways, new moon. I've talked about what a new moon is. I think the language that I came up with in the Sidereal Astrology Guide is really helpful. The 2019 Sidereal Astrology Guide is helpful. So some of the language that I use, if you've watched the new moon video, the new moon tarot reading video, you know that I talked about how the story of the new moon is not really about where the moon is. It's about where the sun is. And the sun allows, on the moon, because we cannot directly perceive the sun, the moon allows us to perceive the sun's light. We cannot directly perceive the sun's light. I always say, when you go outside on a beautiful sunny day, no one turns around and looks at the sun and stares directly at it wow, the sun is so beautiful today. No. You turn around and look at how beautifully everything is illuminated, how the colors pop differently, how the water might shimmer differently, the sky, the blue, the green of the grass and trees and leaves, right? No one looks directly at the sun. We look at the evidence of the sun, and we look at what the sun is doing, which allows us to perceive things in this specific way, everything being bright and illuminated. And so when we are following the moon cycles, we are tracking a story across the houses of our birth chart. The sun as I've stated in the 2019 Sidereal Astrology Guide, tells us where we are focusing during a particular period. It's no coincidence that the sun spends about 30 days in a sign and the moon takes about 30 days to circle back around to the same sign, right? This is the essence of the lunar cycle. So in that 30-day period, the sun is traversing through a particular house of our chart. Right now, it's traversing our Pisces house, and this is where we're focused. And focus does not necessarily mean you're doing anything there. It means where your attention is. The sun tells us, where is your attention being held? Right now, the sun is in Pisces, so your attention is being held in your Pisces house. What is your Pisces house? Go to thepeoplesoracle.com and click Sidereal birth chart, follow that guide, and you will know what your Pisces house is. Otherwise, you want to look for the sign that has like the two things like this in the line in the middle. That's Pisces. So the moon, then, we had a full moon in Virgo 2 weeks ago, and at that point the sun and moon were in opposing signs. And if you know anything about how I talk about astrology, we always need context and reference points, because everything exists within reference to something else. Nothing stands alone. So Pisces exists within the context of other water signs. It exists within the context of immutable signs, and it exists within the context of its opposition to Virgo. And so if Virgo is the evidence, the quantification of fact, the quantification of fact is measuring and calculating, right? Measuring the length, the width, the quantity, comparing. Pisces then is the verification of truth. I've talked a lot over the past few days and weeks about the difference between fact and truth. And fact is something that can be quantified with measure. 7 days is a quantification of time that does not require your objective verification. And anyone who tries to deny the quantified fact of 7 days being a week, we think that they don't understand, they're out of their mind, there's something wrong with them. Facts do not require your verification. Truth, by its very nature, is the subjective verification of facts, right? The example that I give is, I can look at a chair and say, oh, that chair is purple, right? And this could very well be a fact, right? We can quantify purple as having a certain percentage of blue and certain percentage of red. And if the percentages fall within a specific range, this is factual, quantifiable evidence that the chair is purple. If you are colorblind and you come and look at this chair and you say, no, the chair is not purple, right? That it's not true for you. I don't care how many times I tell you the percentages of red and blue, it is not true for you that the chair is purple. And so this is where we land today and this weekend at this new moon in Pisces. We are talking about subjectively verifiable truth. What are the truths that you are subjectively verifying that might very well be contrary to the evidence that someone else may quantify? That's one side of it. Some of the things that I was thinking about this morning with regard to Pisces, some of the language I was thinking about is surrendering to the inevitable. Pisces shows us where we seek to give ourselves over to something meaningful, to give ourselves over to something that is significant, to really find a context for meaning and desire that exist outside of our personal, personal desire, right? We want for our desires to be significant and meaningful in a way that is kind of faded almost, so that when we deal with Pisces transits, we kind of want to know what is meant to be at times. We want to know, what is this thing that is inevitable, and how can I rest in the inevitability and surrender to this thing because it's a part of some larger narrative or meaningful thing that's happening in the world or in my life. This would be all fine and dandy if Jupiter were still in Scorpio, if we had some planets in Cancer, because those planets would reinforce the drive to make our perceptions meaningful within a larger context outside of something personal. It would make our feelings and desires and our will more meaningful than just a personal aim. A lot of times when people come to me for readings, they want for me to encourage their desire by offering some kind of faded context. And sometimes it is so. Sometimes someone comes and they are ready to work on this project or do this thing or make this move, and I look at their chart or I read the cards and it's like, wow, man, you really are at this particular moment, and I can objectively verify your subjective truth at this moment, that you feel some change, you feel this movement. And other times people like to abdicate their autonomy. They like to abdicate their own desire, preferring that desire or that autonomy be validated by fate in some way. So all of that to say, this is why the square with Saturn and the square to the January eclipse point is so important. Because if Pisces is about surrendering, connecting beyond the personal and the tangible, finding meaning, right? If your Mars is in Pisces, your will and your autonomy is a tool to help you to connect to something meaningful, something larger than yourself, the power of surrender. Okay? You know, if you have Moon in Pisces, family is more than just biological. You cannot take family at face value. That's really the essence of Pisces. You cannot take whatever that planet is at face value, right? There is something else implied, or that something beyond whatever that thing is what that planet is the means to. So as I said for Mars, the will is the means to connecting to something larger, to surrender. You cannot do things just because you can, right? That's Aries. Aries says, I'm doing this because I can. Leo says, I'm doing this because I'm the boss, right? Scorpio says, I'm doing this to survive. I must. It's primal. But Pisces answers to Jupiter. And Jupiter, Pisces, does things exist within the context of something more meaningful. So Venus in Pisces, desire and pleasure and relationships are a mean to connecting to something larger, and that you cannot take your desire at face value. You can't just want it because you want it and your body, right, says that you want it. So when we get to Sagittarius and Saturn being there, and this square being kicked off at this phase of Mutable Madness 2019, we're talking about the tension between our intention and the compulsion to surrender. How do we reconcile our own intention with the compulsion to surrender? It's not a bad tension. It's more so of saying that conviction is not enough. Belief is not enough. Intention is not enough. It must contend with this drive to surrender and to connect to something larger. this brings us back to this whole idea of redefining truth, and this redefining truth being such a large part of Mutable Madness 2019. And because the focus right now and over the next week or two is so heavily on Jupiter, we don't have that quantification or articulation that Virgo and Gemini means. All we are left with and all we have to contend with is our intention and that drive to surrender and to connect to something larger and more meaningful than whatever is personal for us. How do we make our perceptions and our desires more meaningful than simply to embody our own intention? Remember that I was talking about, if you watch the 2019 Eclipse Guide working session video, I was talking about how action is an approximation for intention. Action is the thing that we do to embody our intention. It is not the intention itself. So we have these intangible things, intention and desire. Intention is one of the instruments of the will, the fuel that gets that thing going. And desire is biological. In essence, it's a feeling. So again, the thing that we do in order to fulfill a desire is an approximation for the feeling that we are trying to reach. So here we are in this space of mutable madness. Hello, Simply B2008. I'm assuming that's Betty. I don't know. I could be making that up. Anyways, here we are in this space caught between intention and desire, and understanding that any action that we take is an approximation for intention, is an approximation for desire. I almost want to say our actions are the avatar for our intention. It's the way we interact with the will by taking action. But the intention is the fuel that motivates us. This moment is about refining our intention and desire. What is the feeling? What is the feeling that you are seeking in this moment? Skip all of the is it meant to be and all of that stuff. What is the feeling that you're seeking? And then why? Why are you seeking that feeling? Obviously, I think it's futile at this moment to take our desires at face value. But I also think it's important that we be intentional about the reference point that we use to refine our desires. And this is where that new moon reading comes in. We may want to be rational and examine the evidence and honor consensus, but we also may be caught in a quagmire of societal expectations, familial expectations. In that new moon tarot reading video, I talked about validation not as the means to getting our needs met, or in this case, refining our desire, but validation, yes, I'll get to that, but validation as the end goal of refining our desires. So we're not giving up on being validated, loved, accepted, belonging. We just know that those things are not the mean, unless you have a lot of Cancer or Taurus. Those things are not the means. And even if you do have Cancer and Taurus, those signs right now are not really supported as much. But anyways, the point being that validation is not the means, it's the end goal. I talked about you cannot turn around and look for applause as you're trying to get your needs met. You cannot expect for people to clap for you as you are enforcing your boundaries. You got to clap for yourself. Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. That song is the bomb. I think I'm gonna listen to that when I get home. Anyways, but sometimes you got to encourage yourself. Everybody has their own needs, and sometimes your needs are in conflict with somebody else's needs, and so you can't accept for them to clap for you like, yay, do it. Yeah, so today and over the next few days in this new moon territory, I'm asking you, encouraging you to refine your desire and your intention. We don't have no earth in the sky right now, people. So planning and tangible and taking material action and quantifying things, having evidence, unfortunately, this moment is not really the time for that. What it is the time for is refining your desire and intention. And when I say desire, it's very hard for many of us to articulate our desire without referencing another person, without referencing something outside of us. I'm encouraging you to go inside and really find the essence of your desire, which is a feeling. I can say, man, I really want to go to the park, right? That's something that I want to do. But why do I want to go to the park? Why do I want to go to the park? I want to go to the park because it's beautiful. Well, what does beauty make me feel? What does it feel like to observe beauty? Oh man, I'm seeking the feeling of peace, calm, right? Come back down to those feelings. And this is really important because I think this is a thing that can alleviate a lot of frustration. If you focus on the feeling first, it clears your mind of the black and white narratives and binaries that we create around choice. And if we focus on the feeling, it opens up pathways of possibilities for us that we did not necessarily perceive before then. Just like I say, action is an approximation for intention and the will. When we create these binaries, we close down the possibilities of what particular actions might be the best avatar for our intention, right? So in this moment, come back in. New moons are great opportunities for coming back in because the moon and the sun are together. We're focused on this particular house of our chart. A new story is beginning in this particular area of our chart. We are focused there. Someone asked, what were you saying about paying attention to dreams in reference to this Pisces season? I hate when people like cut you off and pull in front of you and then have the nerve to go like 5 miles an hour. Like, wow, you real reckless. You couldn't wait. Anyways, in the new moon tarot reading I did, one of the cards that came up was the Four of Swords, which is a card of rest, withdrawal, reflection. It often means take a nap or go to bed in a very practical sense. As I was reading, it just kind of came up that maybe we should be paying attention to our dreams. I know for me personally, I have like these recurring dreams over the past like 15 years that like all of a sudden I'm understanding and it's coming into my consciousness what these dreams mean. You know, that's that on that. I'm home. I got a couple readings this morning, but with that being said, hold on. If the screen goes blank, I didn't leave you. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. With that being said, yesterday I put out a tweet and a poll asking if you would take me up on the offer of having dream interpretation being included at no additional cost with your astrology reading. And as of last night, the response was overwhelmingly yes. You would not be required to get a dream interpreted. I know someone maybe thought that, but you would not be required to get a dream interpreted. It would just be offered to you. You're welcome, Winter. And with that, basically, I would provide a set of instructions or guide or tips around helping you remember your dreams, and then I would likely instruct you to just track your dreams, and I'll give you instructions on how to do that in the days or weeks, however leading up to your reading, and it'll be up to your discretion to choose which one would have significance. it would likely not be like an old dream. It would have to be a present dream, because I'm trying to connect the reading with the dream in some way. I feel intuitively that that might be beneficial for people. So I'm going to make that change on my booking website soon. In the meantime, watch the New Moon Tarot video. I might re-up the Mutable Madness 2019 video that kind of broke it down. I actually might watch that again, because I don't know. I don't even remember what I said. Do you remember what I said in that video? I don't know. What else? I think that was really it. Yeah. You all have a happy Thursday. The new moon is at like 3-something a.m. in the morning. People are always asking me about new moon rituals. I do not do new moon rituals at this time in my life. I haven't really used that as a specific, I haven't like intentionally like made a ritual out of new moons. Astrology is such an integrated part of my life that I'm always using it, and so maybe life is like a ritual. I don't know. But if you are wanting to do a new moon ritual, if it is something that you are trying to grow, I would definitely make sure that it is in alignment with your Pisces house at this moment, and wait until Saturday evening at the earliest to do your ritual. You do not do new moon rituals when the moon is still dark. You want to wait until the moon is visible, because that corresponds with or correlates to the concept of something growing, something becoming more visible, something coming into consciousness. The darkness is hidden. So if you want to do something that you're hiding, then doing it at the dark of the moon is great. But for those of you who are looking for timing, wait until Saturday evening is the earliest that I would suggest. Saturday evening, like East Coast time in America. Saturday evening at the earliest will be the time that I would suggest to do any new moon ritual. I think that's it. You guys have a happy Thursday. I'll put this up on YouTube for you guys to view later. All right, bye.